Cause P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no.
So we all pretty much know Diddy's sitting in hot water right now, with non-stop allegations and lawsuits being pinned on him, many of which contain very disturbing claims. Yet no official criminal charges have been announced as of now. However, it is clear the feds are building a case on him, as they went as far as raiding his home and taking evidence. Things are now becoming even more real, as footage of Diddy brutally attacking his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, has now been released to the public. I talked about that situation and more of Diddy's disturbing doings months ago, so check that out to get a better picture of the man. But in today's video, I want to bring up something that I don't see many people talking about. That being the possibility of Diddy having a condition or disorder. That being ASPD, or antisocial personality disorder. The terms psychopath and sociopath are not used as an official clinical diagnosis, but are often used interchangeably in describing traits of someone with ASPD. And I'm not gonna sit here and talk in absolutes, claiming to know the answers to all his actions and why he does the things he does. The point of this breakdown is not to diagnose Diddy, but rather point out the traits he has shown pertaining to the Cassie situation, and from there you could come up with your own opinion. So what are some telling signs of ASPD? So it's no surprise that when you think of psychopaths or people with ASPD, your mind will usually go to serial killers or people who have committed violent acts. And that's because one of the prominent signs of such a disorder is patterns of violence towards others. Something that was frequent in the relationship between Cassie and Diddy, as she expressed multiple occasions where Diddy would brutally assault her to the point of leaving her bloody and bruised. It's one thing to hear the allegations, but to see the actual footage of Diddy chasing her, Patrick Bateman style, and brutally attacking her with punches and kicks and then dragging her away. It's very disturbing to watch, and no man should be putting their hands on a woman that way, under any circumstance. That violence displayed in the video shows that Diddy is okay with harming another human being, and it doesn't matter what sex they are. Diddy was once reported to attack his son's football coach, where he even went as far as grabbing a dumbbell and swinging it with the intentions of harm. And there are now a number of women coming forward saying he has assaulted them as well. And I'm talking both ways of assault, if you get my drift. And the allegations span as far back as the early 2000s, meaning he's been violent for over 20 years at this point. Diddy's actions show he does not care who the person is, and if he wants to harm you, he has no problem doing so. When it comes to ASPD, these individuals don't see issues with violence and will commit acts that are known to be wrong. They will also be okay with manipulating people. You see this a lot in situations with famous serial killers who are known to have this disorder. They often use manipulation to trick their victims and leave them in a vulnerable state. Even cases like the Epstein situation. You had a man of power abusing his influence and manipulating these young women to become victims. The same is so with Diddy manipulating Cassie. Diddy's a very charismatic person, and he's always portrayed a charming personality where he often will try to come off as a positive man. But it seems it's just a mask that he shows for the public, and he's used that charm to manipulate alleged victims, as well as violence to manipulate Cassie, to the point where he controlled almost every aspect of her life, and would make sure that he kept that control. He even forced her into his erotic lifestyle, forcing her to give her body to other men while he watched. It's clear Diddy sees Cassie as his property. You could see it in the footage where he would not let her leave the hotel, and will resort to violence before letting her disobey him. And the fact that Diddy displayed this violence in a public place that you would just assume has cameras, especially high-end hotels like the ones he would stay at. It just shows that Diddy really doesn't care. He raged out and did not think of the consequences, which is another common sign of ASPD, a disregard for safety and constant irresponsibility. And it was stated by Cassie herself that Diddy was under the influence, but that does not excuse such behavior, especially when the behavior is becoming a pattern. In fact, people with this mental disorder often find themselves struggling with substance abuse, something that was also stated by Cassie, where she revealed that Diddy is a drug addict and an alcoholic, and he even used her to feed his pill addictions. Diddy would have interesting responses to these allegations, responses that actually contradict themselves and bring into question whether Diddy is even really remorseful. When the allegations were first released, Diddy commented on the suit via his lawyer, where they basically tried to undermine her story and claimed she was just making it all up to get money out of Diddy, which could have been very possible due to them settling the case with a $30 million payout. But what's interesting is how that statement doesn't align with his now infamous apology video.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, and go into rehab. Had to ask God for His mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
So here Diddy's now claiming to be sorry and sympathetic for the abuse he committed. But I thought this was all for money. I thought Cassie was just trying to run you for your pockets. But now physical proof is out there and you're changing your tune. That tells us a couple things. 1, Diddy can't be trusted. He will lie if it means he gets his way and will manipulate you to feel bad for him. 2, Diddy will only show empathetic emotions if he's caught outright. 3, Diddy will hide behind his mask in order to save face. And 4, Diddy will not accept responsibility for his actions. Diddy did not have to respond to this video. And to be honest, it would have been smarter if he didn't. There's no video he could have dropped where people would have accepted his response.
Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the many people he has hurt. When Cassie and multiple other women came forward, he denied everything and suggested that his victims were looking for a payday. That he was only compelled to quote-unquote apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words, end quote.
There's no getting around hard physical evidence in the eyes of the public. And Diddy still tried to sway people's opinions and made a video where he basically tried to make himself a victim. And the points where he actually apologized almost sound scripted. Like bro might have been just reading off something. Look at his eyes. Just based off how he tried to push the Cassie allegations under the rug with hush money and then act like he's so disgusted makes it seem like he really doesn't feel bad for what he did and isn't taking full accountability for his actions. Because if you were, you wouldn't have gaslighted Cassie in front of the world and try to make people question her character when it's really your character that should be questioned. It reminded me of how R. Kelly was acting when his allegations were coming down on him.
Didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me.
ASPD is said to be linked with childhood trauma, abuse, and abandonment, as well as possible genetic factors. Hurt people, a common phrase, and something that could be true for Diddy, as he grew up without a father, as he was brutally shot to death when Diddy was only 2 years old. Diddy's father, Melvin, was actually part of the criminal life, as he was associated with the famous drug dealer, Frank Lucas. It's rumored his father was actually part of the reason the drug ring was brought down. As it came out, the police had wiretaps on him, and he was looked at as a snitch, which many believe is the reason he was murdered. There are also stories of Diddy being assaulted by big figureheads in the industry when he was early on in the music. I spoke on this in my other video, go check that out. And just to be clear, just because a child grows up with traumas and has a tough life doesn't automatically mean they will grow up to have mental issues or do bad things. It's just simply a trend that many people with ASPD had harder lives and situations that impacted their life. And the same can be said for Diddy. So what do I think? I think Diddy's definitely battling something within himself. Whether you believe everything being publicized or not, it's clear as day in that video that this man has a dark side to him. How far and how dark does that go? Only he would know that. But with allegations coming out from every corner, footage of his brutality being shown, and the feds leaning on him, it would convince me enough that he isn't innocent. Even if he didn't do everything they're saying, he's done enough for me to see him as a bad man. A man that will manipulate people around him. A man that will harm people around him. A man that will show no remorse and avoid responsibility. A man that wears the mask to the world. Mental health has always been a sensitive topic, especially with minorities. We've been conditioned to see serial killers, terrorists, and school shooters and think, yeah, that's a psychopath. But what a lot of people don't know is that same person could be your neighbor, your brother, your friend, or even your child. ASPD doesn't have a face. It could be anyone, including celebrities and people we look up to. It's coming out more and more that there are people in these positions of celebrity and power with these conditions, but they do it in the dark where you won't see it. But they are now getting exposed. In a world where false information and twisted narratives are forced on us every day through socials, we need to be open to not only hearing these victims out, but not letting people with power control the narratives. That doesn't mean jump on every allegation you hear and draw conclusions, but back up your opinions with real research. And think for yourself, not what the masses want you to think. I believe dark secrets all come to light at some point, and a time will come where you have to answer for your doings. But what do you think? Does Diddy have a lot of these traits? And what do you think will unfold as the situation continues? Let's chop it up.
Don't stop now, straight to the top now.